So today we are going to discuss and explain the five pillars of the criminal justice system, including the barangay justice system, with my group. Law enforcement. Their task is to enforce the law of the land, including the apprehension of possible violation of such law. Law enforcement. Enforcement is a term used to define the act of enforcing the law. Law enforcement officer is a government employee who is responsible for the prevention, investigation, apprehension, or detention of individual suspect or convicted of the offense against the criminal law. Law enforcement maintain peace and order, prevent and, and investigate crimes, and bring offender to justice. Exercise the vast power from the Philippine Constitution and pertinent law. Detain and arrest person for a period not beyond what is prescribed by law. Law enforcement agency respond to detect and prevent crime. Within this perspective, it is organized that police officers play a significant role in adapting, responding to unexpected or unknown situations, as well as recognize situations such as theft or domestic dispute. And five law enforcement agency: Department of Justice, National Philippine National Police, National Bureau of Investigation, Bureau of Immigration, and Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency.
My name is Jaylee Di Guerrero, BS Crim first year, Section Delta, and I will discuss to you the second pillar of the criminal justice system. The prosecution. The prosecution is the arm of the government responsible for initiating and carrying out criminal proceedings against individuals accused of committing crimes. This primary job is to represent the state, and their goal is to prove that the accused is guilty or charge brought against him or her. The prosecution has several roles, including investigating case, gathering evidence, analyzing evidence, determining if there is enough evidence to file charges, and presenting evidence in court. They also work closely with law enforcement agency and may offer guidance to help them gather evidence and build a strong case, and also represent the interests of the victims or the state in a court. Prosecutor must also be ethical and strictly follow legal procedures and guidelines when handling cases. They must ensure that the accused's constitutional rights are not violated, and they must prove a fair and impartial trial. In summary, the primary tasks of the prosecution include investigating, gathering evidence, presenting evidence, working with law enforcement agency, and representing the state and victim before the court. In the Philippines, there are several types of prosecutions that are carried out to ensure that the rules of the law is upheld and justice is served. Some of these type of prosecution includes: first is the criminal prosecution. This type of prosecution is initiated by the government against an individual accused of committing a crime. The goal of criminal prosecution is to hold the accused responsible for their action and provide justice for the victim. Second is the administrative prosecution. This type of prosecution involves proceedings and action taken to ensure public welfare, to make sure that public officials and employees follow the law and perform their duties. This kind of prosecution is handled by the administrative bodies or agencies established by law. Third is the civil prosecution. This type of prosecution is a legal proceeding between two parties to resolve a legal conflict that may arise between them. It primarily deals with dispute of private law, such as breach of contract, property rights, dispute, and other related issues. Fourth is the fiscal prosecution. This type of prosecution involves financial wrongdoings against government funds and properties. It typically involves a fraudulent act by a public official or employee, and its purpose is to ensure that the person responsible is held accountable and to recover the government's lost money or property. Fifth is election prosecution. This type of prosecution is responsible for handling cases and related to elections, including election fraud, election offenses, and violation of election law. The election prosecution is under the Commission of Election or the COMELEC, an independent constitutional body mandate to ensure the conduct of free, orderly, honest, peaceful, and credible election.
Court. Conduct arraignment and trial. It issue warrant of arrest if the accused is at large and acquit the innocent, and adjudicate penalty for the accused I found guilty. Court exists to do justice, to guarantee liberty, to enhance social order, to resolve dispute, to maintain rule of law, to provide for equal protection, and to ensure due process of law. Their goal is to provide a peaceful jurisdiction to determine whether a person committed a crime and, if so, how they should be reprimanded.
Correction. Correction as the fourth pillar of the criminal justice system. It deals with the punishment, treatment, and incarceration of the offenders. Meaning, dito sa correction ginagawa ang punishment kung saan nagkakaroon din ng pagkakataon upang magbago ang mga kriminal. Once na yung accused ay napatunayan na siya ay nagkasala, ay pupunta siya dito sa correction. Pagkatapos na mapatunayang siya ay nagkasala, ay mapapatawan ito ng karampatang parusa para sa krimen na kanyang ginawa. Pero kung siya ay first-time offender pa lamang, ay maaari siyang mag-apply ng probation or that he could turn over to a non-institutional or institutional agency for custodial treatment and rehabilitation. Dito sa non-institutional, ito yung community kung saan ipupunta yung offender para mag-serve ng kanyang sentence. Sa institutional naman ay dito ipupunta agad sa kulungan ang mga offender. May mga correctional institution din tayo dito sa Pilipinas. Isa na dito ang Sablayan Prison and Penal Farm located in Occidental Mindoro, Leyte Regional Prison, New Bilibid Prison, Iwahig Penal Colony, San Ramon Prison and Penal Farm, Davao Penal Colony, at ang CIW or Correctional Institution for Women na kung saan dito ipupunta ang mga kababaihang inmates. May institutional at non-institutional correction agencies din tayo, wherein the institutional corrections agencies are the Bureau of Correction that is charged with custody and rehabilitation of national offenders. Provincial jails, this is the jail for the safekeeping of prisoners at the capital of each province. And the last is the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology or the BJMP, wherein they supervise and control all over district, city, and municipal jail and nationwide. In non-institutional correctional agencies, these are Parole and Probation Administration, Board of Pardons and Parole, and the DSWD or the Department of Social Welfare and Development. As I mentioned, ano nga ba ang probation, pardon, parole at amnesty? Ang probation, ito ang binibigay na privilege sa mga convicted person na less than 6 years ang punishment na magsaserve sa community instead of actually going to prison. Ang pardon naman is ito yung binibigay ni President sa mga convict. May dalawang uri nito. Ito ay ang absolute pardon wherein the convict is going to be released without any condition. At ang conditional pardon wherein the release of the convict is subject to certain conditions. May mga kondisyon bago ito ay mapalaya. Sa parole naman, ito yung pagpapalaya sa mga convict matapos na maserve ang sentence nila. And the last is amnesty wherein this is the general pardon usually given to political offenders.
The community depends on the court to ensure that justice is served. The court in the performance of the function is criminal proceeding must ensure only the guilt is punished and the innocent sets free. Sa community din galing ang mga kriminal at doon din siya babalik. Pag natapos pagbayaran ang kanyang nagawang crime o natapos na ang sentensyang hinatol sa kanya, ay babalik na siya sa community.
Community involvement in criminal justice process is installation in the barangay, the smallest political unit of the nation. Barangay or village court provide for community basis mechanism and amicable settlement of disputes by condition panels chosen by legislated themselves. The constitutional body is the Lupong Tagapayapa, which is the equivalent of Chote of Japan. The Panchawat, known as the Union Council Pakistan, and the Neighbor Conciliation Committee in China. The settlement and attribution word, the panel have the force and effect the final judgment of a court. The barangay justice system expels the personal-oriented approach to the dissemination of justice within faster and shorter time frame, lesser rigor, and much cheaper cost. It performs over more than 15 years, shows that its sure mechanism diverting cases of petty crimes and civil cases from the judicial system, amicable settlement of dispute, prevention of the clear personal within the barangay.